And there's some misinformation there. They believe that Palestinians are aliens, are Arabs. They're not aware that Palestinians are Jews, Edomites, Samaritans, Canaanites. I come from a very Zionistic background. I am from a part of India called Goa, which is very Portuguese, and a good percentage of the population is Catholic, and very observant Catholic, very much focused on what they call the Holy Land, which is Palestine, but focused not on the present, but focused on the 2000 and beyond past, the times of Abraham. They dwell at length, but they aren't concerned. That's the tragedy of what is happening in that same Holy Land right now to Jesus' people. That's the huge tragedy. It's brought up Zionist. I believed it for many, many years. All through my childhood, I was given the good old Zionist brainwash. There in my community, the Goan community, Goan Catholic community of India, and amongst many, we are told, the Catholics, that there's a religious justification. There is a lack of information. There's a lot of misinformation and disinformation. They believe. So some people say the Jews have a right to come back and kick out. This is old Christian Zionism. The evangelicals have it to support Trump and Biden as well. That they can come back, kick out the Palestinians. And there's some misinformation there. They believe that Palestinians are aliens, are Arabs. They're not aware that Palestinians are Jews, Edomites, Samaritans, Canaanites, who converted to Christianity first, and then many later to Islam in the 640s or so, and after. So they think the people, new kids on the block, that they have nothing to know. And many believe this was a barren, and some go, the ignorance is such to believe it was a barren land. So the Jews have come to a barren land, and these Arabs, they refuse to call Palestine, give them that little dignity of their name and address them as Palestinians. They call them Arabs and say that they have no right to that land, they're the aliens in that land. That's what I was fed. See, the seeds of doubt was there. I was told that the Arabs, the Palestinians are the bad guys, and the Jews are the good guys. And this went on in 1967. I was in a soccer field after dark, lingering on, and it was too dark to play, and then all of us were sledging, absolutely bad-mouthing the Palestinians and calling them the bad guys. And there was this one boy listening without saying a word. And then when everybody, he says, "Can I speak?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "Have you heard the Palestinian side of the story?" All of us jumped and said, "There is no Palestinian side." He says, "Do you want to know about it?" All right, tell us what about it." He says, "It's their land. They've been kicked out." And guess what? This is the irony of it. He was a Jew. He was a 12-year-old. We were all 12-year-olds. He was a Jewish boy. I even remember his name, Reuben. So Reuben told us Catholic boys that, it was the Palestinians were the people, they are the victims. And this thing continues in my community, and there's a lot of victim blaming. That's the tragedy of it, yes. Some people say, "Look at this idiot." Others see me as evil, but I'm utterly alienated from my community. Whether it is us Goans back in Goa or our diaspora all around the world, they either root for Israel, and some who don't root for Israel have this mistaken belief that it is a religious conflict. First of all, they have this belief that it's a conflict, and it harks back to a statement that the church has made, and it's a myth that the church and the Pope is perpetuating, and that's very tragic. The Pope addresses the gender of the world from his balcony in the Vatican, and he had just become Pope. And the first message, it's called the Orbi et Urbi. I think it means to the people. And this is what he said. He made the statement, which is at the heart of the misunderstanding a person who's been an archbishop, he's a scholar, and for him to make this fundamental, very basic error, what does it say? And this, I'll just quote his words: peace for the Middle East, and particularly between Israelis and Palestinians. But what he's trying to say is it is war. He doesn't. We struggle to find the road of agreement. How do an occupied people find the road of agreement? That they may willingly and courageously resume negotiations to end a conflict. How does a side come to a negotiating table which is heavily skewed in favor of the occupier? The Palestinians come with their shirt on their backs to this table, facing heavily armed, one of the biggest military powers, backed economically, militarily by the world's greatest superpowers. They sit there, and what can come from such a negotiation except abject surrender, and which has happened at every talk. There is a myth going around in my community in particular. It's being spread that the Palestinians who rejected peace at all the talks at Camp David. Absolute false. When he says these words, the Pope is actually luring them into a trap of surrender. He wants them to come to that table. He knows their arms will be twisted because they're hungry, they're starving, they're powerless, they're aching for freedom, and they'll surrender more land. Does he want what more concessions does he want from a people who have lost 78% of their land, and now that remaining 22% is occupied? Little fragments. Does he want them to surrender more of those fragments? They have no water. Does he want to surrender them more? I don't think it's very cruel. To ask that they surrender more. And then he says to end a conflict. Since when does a freedom struggle become a conflict? When you say that, you negate all that Gandhi, that Martin Luther King, that Rosa Banks have said. When you start calling a freedom struggle a right, you start calling it a conflict. You make the person asking for that freedom into a warmonger, on a conflict maker, very cruel. And then, so a conflict that has lasted all too long. If he really wants peace, why does he not go and not address the Palestinians, the occupied, chained, and caged people? Why doesn't he tell the United States, where he gets the majority of the funds from the Catholic Church come from there? Why does he tell them to stop, for heaven's sake? If he loves God, please stop arming these people and funding this genocide, this land theft, this apartheid they're continuing. That's what a person really interested in peace would have said. And then this whole idea of negotiations. Since when do people negotiate freedom? Since when is freedom negotiable? Once you do that, once you make it, it's going to set a precedent. You're going to turn the clock of civilization back to the times before Mandela, before Gandhi, before Martin Luther King, before Steve Biko, and you're going to say a person that freedom is something that is a privilege. It's not a birthright. What a thing for a pope to say, and what a thing for his people to believe. Christianity, the focus, the birthplace of that religion is, they call it their holy land, with reverence, with love. Every moment of the day, every prayer, the Agora Sunday Mass, the focus is the Holy Land. But which Holy Land? The Holy Land of 2000 and beyond, to the times of Jesus and Abraham. That's 2000. Not a word about what is happening here. There's no concern. I hobnob with my community. They go on business as usual. They're partying, they're celebrating. Not a word is mentioned about this huge genocide. People starving to death, people with no flesh on their bones. No. What have we come to? And if my community wants to ostracize me, so be it. I have to look at the mirror. I have to be answerable to myself and to whatever my parents have taught me. I have to hold on to my principles. Robin Williams says, there's that famous line in Mr. Doubtfire, and he said it with that Indian accent, you've got to do what you've got to do. I got to do what I got to do.